Hey everybody, welcome to Mayor's Night Out, Quarantine Edition. Nice to see you all. I want to remind you, we have this chair set up on purpose to properly socially distance. I want to thank the Hammond YMCA for letting us, and Director Emily Ellison for allowing us to use their building. Could you give them a big round of applause, please? We're very proud of the YMCA in Hammond. Recently underwent a $3 million project to upgrade this YMCA, and we're very proud of it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the 5th District Councilman Dave Whirlpool to go ahead and get this started. Give him a warm welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll be brief. It's kind of tough because going so deaf I have to read lips, so it's really hard for me to hear. As you guys know, the COVID thing hit. Projects have been put on hold. As far as I get a lot of calls about, is my street going to get repaved? Is my lights going to get done? Right now, that all comes from gaming dollars, and the gaming boat shut down, I believe, in March and just got back up and running. And I don't see any projects getting done as far as this year goes. I do get a lot of questions on the projects. We've identified, myself and Dean Button have identified during that flood a problem that exists on Schneider that I don't know if you want to address later, but we just sent out for engineering on that to kind of fix that problem right now. But I hear from a lot of you. You guys have asked me a lot of questions. I've tried to answer them. I'll be here after the meeting, and with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
It's brutal to hear in here. Can you guys hear okay? I think everybody's just going to have to be really conscious of the echo chamber that we're in when we're speaking, okay? Because I don't know how much better it could get. Is that better when I talk slow? Yeah. Okay, so let's just try to keep that in mind. It's really echoey in here. Hey, Jason, maybe you guys could take that outside, Jason, do you mind? Because it's super bad in here. All right, welcome to Mayor's Night Out, everybody. Let's give it up for Donna Muta, Special Events Coordinator. I'm gonna keep my mask off while I'm talking, all right? I'm gonna try to, obviously I'm gonna wear it when I'm talking. I think you guys are properly socially distanced, but it's probably better if we all wear our masks. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce the department heads. Donna?
Down there by Chris.
Oh, look at that. How's it going, Lieutenant Strabavi?
Lieutenant Strabavi, Police Department.
Chris Campbell, Information Technology.
Megan Flores, City Controller.
Jeff Rutherford, Public Works.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance. Bob Vale, Building Department.
Jaime Prieto, Code Enforcement.
Ron Novak, Environmental.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Talk loud, everybody.
Africa Tarver, Planning and Development.
Dean Button, Engineering.
Mylan Krasinski, Port Authority.
Ann Anderson, Economic Development.
Chris Sakalaris, Legal Aid.
Marty Wilgus, Hammond Sanitary District.
Matt Muta, Hammond Sanitary District.
Phil Talon, Chief of Staff.
Kevin Margraf, Hammond Fire Department.
Owana Miller, Community Development.
Sharon Daniels, College Bond and Personnel.
Carmen Paniagua, Housing Authority.
Kevin Smith, Corporation Counsel for the city.
All right, let's go ahead. How's it going? Is this my microphone or?
You could just put it down, Mayor, because if anyone in the back row needs to answer, we could just have them use that.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. We got more over there. Here, we gotta turn it back on.
Mark Heinz, Parks and Recreation.
You guys are, yeah.
Mark McLaughlin, Water Department.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to take off our masks when we talk today. I think that's, so thank you, Mark. That's Hammond Water Department, Hammond Park Department over there. Basically what we're trying to tell you is we got everybody here we need to answer your questions. Thank you for coming to Mayor's Night Out. We've been doing this for, this is our 17th year. For like the first 8 years I was mayor, we did it 11 times a year. Then we cut back for like the last 8 years. We've been doing it 6 times a year. This is our time coming to 5th District. It's great to see Councilman Whirlpool. 5th District's where I live, and we love the YMCA. So again, thanks to the Hammond YMCA. I'd also like to thank the council people in attendance. I just see Councilman at Large, Dan Spitali. Good to see you, sir. Hammond's 2nd District Councilman, Pete Torres. Good to see you, Councilman. I'm usually better at spotting them with these masks. They're throwing me off, though. Hammond's 6th District Councilman, Scott Rakos. Of course, our 5th District Councilman, Dave Whirlpool. All right. Thank you for coming, everybody. We're here. The way we initiate this process, as a reminder, is Eileen in the back. Can you raise your hand? Eileen's got blank sheets on her. These sheets start a conversation. They're conversation starters. Once you start a conversation, let's say we're talking about the schools. And then we just try to keep it on that. Maybe the conversation starter is about the schools, and you also have a question about the schools, and you raise your hand, keep the conversation going that way. Once we start a new question, we'll start a new conversation. So right now we have 5 conversation starters. So Donna, why don't we go ahead and start off? And by the way, we have a large audience watching at home right now. I want to thank everybody that's watching on Go Hammond TV. It's great to see him. Mr. Jacobs, who's taped every single Mayor's Night Out since the beginning of the time. Good to see you, Jake. Anyway, Donna, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, Mayor, first up from engineering. 2 years ago, a portion of 129th by the golf course was ripped up. The top layer of road still has not been replaced. Any idea when it will be completely fixed?
All right, 129th, Dean Button. By the way, while we're talking about this, I'm going to give Strabavi a couple questions also, because I love 129th. Let's start off with you first.
Thank you, Mayor. That was a project there where the communications company was installing cable, and they found it difficult to come through there, and so they put a surface layer of concrete down. I'll resurrect that. I appreciate that comment. That's not the best situation we have out there, and I'll get that taken care of. But I appreciate you bringing that to my attention.
129th, great street. One of the things about that street is when the Klein Avenue Bridge shut down, all the truck traffic initially wanted to go down 129th to get to where they needed to go, which would have ruined the quality of life for everybody in that neighborhood, the Lost Marsh Golf Course, an area we were trying to make a green area. So we started enforcing a truck ban, no semi ban on 129th, which is a local street. I went down the street the other day, I saw 2 semis shortcutting, and I'm not mad at the police department for it. I just want to make sure the police department is reminded that we enforce that on 129th. And Tom actually comes from that part of town. Right. Yeah, is this a big problem? Could somebody give Tom a microphone? Or? Oh. That's what that's for.
Hi. I'll just steal this one if that's all right.
No problem, Tom. Oh, 129th we were talking about.
129th.
Is that a big problem? Somebody's going down the street?
It's not as big a problem as 141st is now with that rerouting over there, but I mean the truck traffic we try to monitor as best as humanly possible. With the Amical projects and stuff like that are going on, we try to limit it. They have that warehouse on the south side, 129th, I know off of Calumet over there, that there are trucks going in and out of, but again, if it's off truck route, we cite as humanly possible. I know that Lieutenant Vicari from traffic will at times put the Mary units, the motorcycle, or the traffic enforcement units over there to kind of corral that and curb it.
Okay. So could you keep an eye on that for me, please?
Absolutely, yes.
Right. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. All right. It is, I think it's hard for you guys to hear, but on our side of the speaker, it's really hard to hear. Like when we're talking to each other, it's It's really hard to hear. But I think it's going out to you, sort of like reminds me at the Festival of the Lakes when you see the older bands, the ones that traveled around in the 70s and the 80s, they have the speakers on stage that blow back, the blowback speakers. And now you see the newer bands, they all have the inner ear and they don't have that blowback anymore. It reminds me of that a little bit, what's going on here. So if it seems like we're having trouble hearing you, it's just, there's a lot of echo up here. So anyway, did we answer the question for 129th Street?
Yes.
Okay. Any other follow-ups on that? Dean?
Well, I know that 129th Street right at Calumet Avenue has been a real problem. And so we have an initiative to try to make improvements to there. I've reached out to the Department of Transportation because of the flooding that happens there. Right. One issue relative to what Mylan just handed me earlier tonight was that we know that Lake Michigan levels are very high, and that has a consequence to backing up water in that area more so significantly than it had in the past.
Including Wolf Lake, right?
Wolf Lake's high, yeah.
If Lake Michigan's high, does that mean Wolf Lake's high and George Lake is high, or is that correlated?
Not necessarily. There is some hydraulic disconnection between the two, and I know that the golf course at George Lake, they can keep that level controlled based upon some pumps they have in the facility. But Wolf Lake is definitely high, higher than normal. What we call the turning basin is definitely high, much higher than it's ever been. Water will come up on Calumet Avenue by the Indiana Toll Road. But we have an initiative to correct that drainage problem right at 129th Street that we're working with the Department of Transportation. And also there's a request for projects later this year through NERC, and if it doesn't work with NDOT, we'll work through NERC to get that resolved, Mayor.
Okay. You know, I don't know what it was, Dean, but I'm watching the viewership on Go Hammond, and as soon as we started talking to you, it went up like 50 people.
Oh, that's not typical. Like the radio. It's
yeah.
not like on the radio.
Yeah. You obviously have an audience out there, so I just got the point. So, all right. Anyway, thank you. Anybody have any follow-ups on that? It's nice to get back into the swing of things, by the way. This is the first Mayor's Night Out since April? Was it? No? Could have been April.
I think we did a virtual in May, didn't we?
Was it? What a nightmare. Virtual Mayor's
Not the
Night.
same.
This is the best. I like it. I don't mind wearing. So, all right, let's go. What's next?
Next question. Mayor, I love the new YMCA improvements. I hear that Mervan wants a YMCA at Wicker Park.
I'm having trouble hearing. I heard something about the YMCA.
Love the new improvements.
Love the new improvements. They're gorgeous.
We hear that Frank Mervan wants a YMCA at Wicker Park. Why would the Y do that if there's a brand new one right here?
We heard that Frank Mervan wants a YMCA in Wicker Park. Why would he do that? Okay. I've heard that also, and I'm not talking about specific individuals. I heard multiple people that confirmed that there's talk right now of a YMCA, like a super center, sort of like what they did in Crown Point, would be located in Wicker Park where the old pool was. Anybody that's seen the YMCA in Crown Point, it's gorgeous. It's like a super Walmart, except for it's a YMCA. It's got everything. And thousands of people go to it. So obviously if there is movement, I hear that the North Township Advisory Board has an issue before them where they put $7 million, which is a lot of money. It's taxpayer money, obviously. They would put $7 million into the project, and they would get a grant of land. It's basically where the driving range is at Wicker Park, and then where the old pool is, that whole area over there, like the dog run area, that building that's never really used behind the dog area. You know what I'm talking about? That it would be like that area would be given to the North Township. The North Township would give it to the YMCA, and the YMCA would build a big Y there. That's a proposal on the table. I think it's funded by the White family, from what I understand. And I know that there's some governmental issues. The funny thing is, this is like the worst kept secret in Northwest Indiana, because everybody in government's talking about it, but it hasn't been in the media at all. No coverage in the Times, no coverage in the Post, no coverage in WJLB, no coverage. So, yeah, I'm concerned as Hammond's mayor. I think that's concerning because I love this building. We just put millions of dollars of renovations into this gorgeous YMCA, and I want thousands of people to come here. Yeah, I'm concerned if we build a brand new Y a mile from here, that it would have an impact on this. Absolutely. I could also understand why A super Y would be great for the communities they build it in, but yeah, as mayor, it does concern me a bit. And I had talked with Jay Buckmaster, the head of the YMCA. He confirmed that this is going on now, currently. So yeah, it concerns me for sure. I'm not trying to kill anything, but as mayor, I think I should be concerned. As a Y supporter, damn, my name is right in front of my face right now. We put $1 million into this building, this project. Yeah, I'm concerned. I want this thing to be a center to Hammond. I want people from Highland and Munster to come here. So yeah, that's concerning. And I don't know what the status is because I'm not on the North Township Advisory Board, but you got Peter Kadick, he's a Hammond guy. He's on the North Township Advisory Board. He lives in the 4th District. You got Lisa Matanovich, she's a Highland resident. She's on the North Township Board. And you got Rich Novak, he's a Highland resident, he's on the North Township Board. And then you got Trustee Frank, who's probably going to be our next congressman, driving this. So I don't know why nobody's talking about it. I guarantee you if we had like a $25, $30 million project we were doing in the city of Hammond, and I expected the Hammond taxpayers to pitch in $7 million, $8 million, I wouldn't be doing it in secret. I wouldn't be sneaking it around and trying to keep it from the media and trying to keep it from the people. It's $7 million we're talking about. That's park property we're talking about. And it does have an impact. It's going to have an impact on this building. It's going to have an impact on the Lincoln Center, which is only a couple blocks from what they're talking about. The town of Highland has put millions of dollars into the Lincoln Center. Yeah, I'm worried. As mayor, I have to be. That's my job. That's why I got in trouble when I ran for Congress, was because I fight for my city and then everybody that doesn't live here hates me. But this is one of those things where any mayor worth his or her salt has got to protect their city, and the Hammond Y is vital. I love this building. I've been coming to this building since I was a little kid. My little brother played basketball in this room. My little brother has played basketball in this room. It's important. I know most of my friends work out here. I play racquetball here. I used to play racquetball here. But yeah, it's concerning, for sure. And it's happening right now. But nobody knows anything about it. That's not the way we do it in Hammond. So, does anybody have any follow-ups on this? It's one of those toxic issues nobody wants to talk about. That's why it's not in the newspaper. Nobody wants to talk about it. I mean, I just wish, honestly, if the plan was all along to build a $30 million Y at Wicker Park, I wish they would have been honest with me years ago. We would have saved a couple $1 million on this project. I think it's disingenuous to approach the city of Hammond, ask for millions of dollars of taxpayer money, fix up this building, and 2 years later go down the street and build a $30 million Y. I think that's disingenuous. Absolutely. Anybody? What communities pay taxes to this? It's Highland, Munster, Hammond, East Chicago, Whiting. Those communities would pay the $7 million down, basically. So, any follow-ups on this? Yep, I don't know why we're not reading about it. I tell you what, if I was a reporter, I'd be doing this story. So, Eileen, oh, did you have something on this? Left? All right. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, Mayor, the 6900 block of Ridgeland would like some alley lights. How do we get that done?
Good question. Okay, I'm going to pass off to Councilman Whirlpool. I'd like to point out the 6900 block of Ridgeland is where my aunt lived for a long time, so I know the block well. Dave?
Yeah.
Why don't you have lights in the alley of 6900 block of Ridgeland?
I know specifically who wanted it, and just like I told you guys at the time, I think it was at the last mayor's night out at Purdue when you guys asked about it. I've contacted NIPSCO, I think, 3 times personally on it. I know Mr. Button and Jonathan even told me they sent an email out to them. I don't know if it was ever responded to or not. Do you, Dean? The email you sent on the alley light on Ridgeland there?
I can't hear what he's saying.
It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
When you're going person to person, it's almost impossible.
I'll talk to them after the meeting, but that's been put in for 3 or 4 times now. Getting the alley lights are hard.
Okay, we'll talk about it after.
Yeah.
But this gives me an opportunity to talk about something else that's being spoken about by your government, and it's going to go public within a few days, is a proposal to revamp the way we spend casino revenue in the city of Hammond. We want to put together something called the Capital Improvement Board. And what this board would be is a board tasked, chaired by the city engineer, and tasked with prioritizing projects across the city. Not just lighting projects. You know, we get a lot of that as elected officials. Hey, I want lights on my street, mayor, or I want lights on my street, councilman. And of course you want to do that, and what you find yourself doing is doing a lot of like the pretty projects and not doing a lot of the nitty gritty. Digging down and digging out the old sewer pipes that were laid 100 years ago and replacing it with new stuff, or doing the flood control projects that nobody notices unless you get 3 inches of rain, right? So we have a proposal that's going to be pending before the Hammond City Council next meeting, not the one coming up. First and second reading will be on the 24th, and we'll talk a lot more about this, but I think it's a real creative proposal. It sacrifices mayor's gaming money. I give up money. We would ask the district councilman to sacrifice their money, some of it. I'd be doing some of it. And we would also be including the at-larges who right now have no input whatsoever on how gaming money is spent. We would be including those at-large council people into this process, and this capital improvement board would be tasked with identifying the most important project in the city and doing it first. I've been using this example. Under the current process, I always use Barry Tyler, our new councilman in the 3rd District. I said, Barry, let's say you want to fix Tapper, and you want to dig it out, and you want to do blocks at Tapper, and to properly do Tapper, to dig out all the old water pipes and all the old storm water pipes, it would probably cost $5 million to do what Barry needs to do. Barry gets like $1.5 million a year. So what the councilmen tend to do instead is focus on the pretty stuff and not the nitty-gritty stuff. And even if Barry wanted to do $5 million worth of work, he gets $1.5 million a year. Theoretically, that's going to take him 4 years to do that project, which is ridiculous. Tapper needs to get done right now. By the way, Tapper doesn't need to be done right now. I'm just using it as an example. Everybody on Tapper is like, what the hell is going on with our street, right? This is a hypothetical, okay? So what I'm saying is, instead of doing it the $1.5 million a year to the 3rd District, $1.5 million a year to the 4th District, to the 5th District, to the 6th District, why don't we give all that extra money to the Capital Improvement Board? We'll have 4 appointments from the mayor, 3 appointees from the council, which is typical. The mayor always has 1 more board member than the council, and those 7 people will get together and prioritize citywide projects. So if they have $12 or $13 or $14 million to spend, and Tapper costs $5 million to fix right now, they do it in 1 season instead of 4. I really thought that I'd get a lot of pushback on this idea because I've been talking about it with the council for the past few weeks, and I tell you, the council knows that what we're doing right now is not working also. And it's a big change from the way this ordinance was written in, Councilman Bob, 1994, when the gaming ordinance first came into effect. Is that accurate? Councilman Bob? Oh, you can't hear, I'm sorry. I know, you can't? I'm like, they could hear me at home. That's a good thing. You guys can't hear me here, but at home, they're giving us huge kudos on how well they can hear. All right, so anyway, we'll hear more about that in the future. By the way, it's good to see former Hammond City Councilman Bob Markovich here. Good to see you, sir. Let's go on to the next question. What, hold on, what was that? Flooding? I can't hear. I need a microphone. Yeah, well, that's what the Capital Improvement Board will do. It'll be a public meeting if that happens, ma'am. It'll be like, it'll be on the weeks the city council doesn't meet. It'll be in the council chamber. It'll be public, like the clerk will be taking minutes. It's gonna be on Go Hammond TV. There's gonna be public expression. Well, mm-hmm. Okay. One of the weaknesses in our the way we do business currently is the councilmen do a great job of selecting projects, but a lot of times, I always use this road. I'm going to use this road as an example. It's in Dave's district. I'm not using it to make Dave look bad at all. I think Dave's a great councilman. There's the road by Oxbow Park.
No.
Right? The road that goes from basically to BW3's to the town of I guess it's town of Highland, right? Goes all the way around the old strip club, and it goes around the corner of the old BMV, and then it gets to the Little Cow where it turns into Highland, right? That stretch of road is in horrible shape, but nobody wants to do it. Dave doesn't want to do it, and I don't blame Dave, because Dave wants to do constituents' driveways, not driveways, excuse me. This isn't East Chicago. He wants to do constituents' streets. He wants to do stuff that his residents can see. That street, nobody lives there.
Mayor, Mrs. Durrell, just to reiterate what the mayor's saying. Just to reiterate what the mayor's saying is, I'm aware of your flooding issue, just like I'm aware of Gary over there and the problems he has on McCook and the street you brought up, and that's exactly why we're considering this. That's about $5 million in work, and it needs to be done. Yeah. Yeah. But he's on the other side of the railroad tracks, and they've got the same problem over there on McCook.
Hey,
but that's exactly why we're doing
this.
this.
You guys, honestly, like this is like jibber jabber. Like we're having trouble even like hearing amongst each other. There's nothing coming through. So I'm just gonna ask you guys maybe to take this after the show if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Like I think we have to realize we're in a real tough situation with communication here. We gotta go slow as possible so that the audience can catch it at home. So that we can understand. The audience here is perfectly from microphone to microphone, but like they're not catching anything that's off mic, Donna. So we got to make sure we do that. So, all right. Any other questions about the Capital Improvement Board? I know you don't know a lot about it. You'll learn more in the coming days. Each council person has been briefed on this proposal already. So, yes, sir. Oh, could you wait for the microphone? Thanks.
Well, is the MS4 money part of that also? That's for the sewer separation.
Thank you. I'll cover that. Thank you. Marty, could you grab a microphone? He's like looking at me. What are you going to do, sign language? I'm like Marty. He's like, yeah, what's up? Marty, the question was about what do you do with the MS4 money?
Basically...
Hey, could you take off the mask? Do you mind?
Oh.
Thanks. So.
Basically, we use that for any storm water improvements throughout the city. Some of that actually goes to buy a few vehicles that the district could use. We're actually using a good portion of that money as we speak right now to fund the $500 that we are giving to 1,700 homeowners that were affected by the large rainfall at the end of May.
The MS4 money is funding that program.
That is correct.
That's nice.
Yes. So
how much did that program, so you're talking about the people that suffered damage in the floods of, I know, well, May 25th, I think?
The end of May, yes.
I mean, yeah.
The 30th.
That whole period I blacked out of,
Yeah, I know.
a bad couple weeks.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I don't know if you remember, I remember it very well.
I know, you called me.
Yeah.
I do remember.
Yeah, my therapist says I should just black that whole part out.
Yeah, I know.
So that program you gave to how many Hammond residents?
There's 1,700 homes that we verified that actually had backup. So that means that an inspector went out and verified that they did have backup. The next step is that we call each of these homeowners. They come in and they supply various documents that show that they actually own the home. The program was only designed for homeowner-occupied homes. And we narrowed that down, and right now, as of today, we have 1,100 checks that have been sent out, personally handed to the out of the 1,700
checks is $600,000?
It was 1,100 checks, and we're right at about a little over $500,000.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you for your question, sir. MS4. It's on your property tax bill, I'm sure. Yeah.
Somebody else had an MS4 question. Who had?
Yeah. It was what? It went from.
This guy had MS4.
Yeah, something like. True. I know. I own a business in Hammond. So. Hi, sir.
Hello, sorry. Hello, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me okay, I think? Hello?
What's that?
Can you hear me okay? So, same question with MS4. I got a few properties actually in Hammond. One of the properties was assessed a value of about $3,000 for a parking lot, but then my tax bill was more than almost half because of the MS4. So it's just a parking lot, nothing's there, but I got a $1,000, $80 bill on top of that. I don't mind paying, but there has to be some proportionality to this. I have my commercial buildings, I'm paying $1,080, that's fine. My homes, I'm paying $90. But for a parking lot that's assessed at $3,000 to get another $101,080 to the bill, my normal bill is $120. So it was just shocking to see the overall difference. And unfortunately, you're right, COVID, we're here. I didn't know about it. I paid the whole bill till next year, and I just got notice of it today.
I'm having an impossible time here.
Yeah.
Like, this is not working. Yeah.
Hey, Mayor, try it without the microphone and see what happens.
This is impossible. I can't hear a damn word. Like, it's
hey,
impossible.
try not using a microphone.
Right.
Turned him down because he
Marty, how is that calculated out? That's based on a number of stormwater drains, isn't it? Or?
It's based on the codes that we get from the county per property. So what we do, sir, is the county supplies us with the various codes for all of the properties throughout the city of Hammond. Vacant lots have a certain code, parking lots have a certain code, homes have a certain, businesses have certain codes. They supply us with the codes. We then apply the formula to the code. So if you think there's a problem with this vacant lot that you're talking about, I'll be more than happy to look at it. But I think you and I actually talked about this, if my memory serves me right. Yeah, and sure. So if you see me afterwards, I'll get the information, get your phone number, we'll talk.
Thank you. Is this better for you guys out there?
Yes.
I'm trying everything here. Could somebody turn this off so it never works again, please? Yeah, this thing is killing us, I think. And I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you. It was better when he was talking to me. I don't know if the microphones are working at all in here. We can't do this, like, this isn't working. So let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Is there any other question on this? I apologize. This is just a tough room to have a conversation in. Okay, let's go to the next question, Donna.
We'd like to see better restaurants to eat at in our city. Why are we not attracting better, bigger food restaurant chains?
Well, you know, the question, this is Africa and Ann, get ready. The question is, why are we not doing a good job attracting better restaurants? We're doing our best.
It's hard to get employees to work and do what they're supposed to do in the restaurants around here. I can't hear her.
I could tell you that we're always working to bring in, I mean, 18th Street's a pretty damn good restaurant. Opened up actually probably 5 years ago now. Was it that long?
I think so, probably.
Parkway Brewery, pretty damn good restaurant. Opened up a few years ago also. BW3, I love that restaurant. A little expensive, but opened up some years ago. Yeah, believe me, it's not like we're closed-minded. Keep in mind that the city of Hammond's not opening up a restaurant. It's not like TGI Fridays owned by the city of Hammond. We don't do that kind of stuff. We have to have people that are willing to come with money and buy property in our city and be taxpayers in our city and hire residents in our city and run a business. And if you can't get people to do that, it's like when you look at a community like Gary that has hardly any restaurants at all other than in the Miller area, you know, it's challenging when you're in an urban city, even more. You know, if you had $1 million to spend on a brand new restaurant and you had the choice between Crown Point and Hammond, I think a lot of people would probably choose Crown Point. And that's the kind of stuff that we have to overcome. And you may even do better in Hammond. But like, I think a lot of people are just sort of biased against opening a restaurant in our city. When I first became mayor and we talked to Starbucks, they said, no way in hell. Hammond can't support a Starbucks. When they wanted to open a Walmart in the city, Hammond, back in the 90s, they said, no way. Hammond can't support a Walmart. That's an attitude that's out there that we have to overcome. Africa?
Yeah, I was going to sort of piggyback off of that. That's very true. We're always looking for restaurants to come to the city of Hammond. We're always looking for restaurants to come to the city of Hammond because we recognize with having over 80,000 residents in the city, we always need different eateries. One of the things that we have to consider is that restaurants look at data that's put out, so we can call and tell them that you do great within the city of Hammond. What they're going to look at is what type of disposable income do we have, what kind of educational attainment levels do we have, and how do we measure up against some of our neighboring communities. A lot of times when we reach out to them, what they will tell us is we already service your market because someone will drive to another area and patronize their business. So that's why I'm a very strong advocate of buying local and really supporting some of the businesses that are here. So we do try on a very regular basis to get businesses within the city of Hammond.
I own a business in the city of Hammond. I own a building and houses Shoop's, which is a great Hammond restaurant. I encourage you to go there, by the way. Ann, do you want to add to that?
I do. Yes, the talk is always talking about getting these big chains in, but keep in mind we have a lot of great mom and pop restaurants and neighborhood restaurants, Mexican, Polish, Vietnamese, and they're all over in every neighborhood. So definitely go support them as well.
How about this restaurant? It's not a new restaurant. I think it's under new ownership. What's the one at 150th and Columbia, that Mexican restaurant there? Azteca. La Hacienda de
Azteca. Wonderful restaurant. And they're actually...
Has anybody in the audience been to that restaurant? 150th and Columbia, the Mexican restaurant? It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Right? And this is a relatively new restaurant. I know it's under new ownership, and the city helped them expand their parking lot.
That's right.
We had to rezone. It's a great... Which one?
Golden Gloves.
Oh, yeah. You have to like set up an appointment for that one, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had that food one time. Somebody brought me they ordered it and brought it to me. It was really good. You're right. That was the convenience store. Good. That's right. Windy City Live, that's right. See?
So I encourage you to call these places up, place your order, and go pick it up. Get these foods and support these small restaurants.
This is a little good commercial for the local businesses, right? We got it, of course, El Taco. It's solid, right? Cavalier, solid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been around a while, but they're still great. So, all right, thank you. So we're not ignoring restaurants, we're encouraging. But I wanted more restaurants to go in Oxbow, and they keep building hotels and big office buildings, and that's good for us too. Those big office buildings, instead of a restaurant, we got a bunch of, increased assessed value. So anyway, Donna?
Okay, next, Mayor. Can you hear me okay? There are a number of homeless people in the area of Hammond. Some do not qualify or may not be able to enter the local shelter. What can be done to address these individuals? Some of them seem to have mental issues as well as homeless issues.
Thank you. Good timing on this question. Awana, did you hear the question? Questions about the homeless. I know this is, the reason I say this is good timing is we just got money from the federal government for emergency homeless grants. I just processed hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of signatures I put on all these grants within the last couple of days. You prepared them all, right? Can you talk a little bit about what we do to help with homelessness in the city of Hammond, Awana? Awana's the head of community development.
Each year we receive funding from the federal government. It's called Emergency Solutions Grants. And those funds go towards our homeless shelters here in Hammond. We actually have two. One is the rescue mission at State Street, and another one is Claude Street Shelter. We also have one for domestic violence, and that's the Haven House, domestic violence shelter for women. I'm not sure the second part of the question, but our ESG dollars goes towards that, plus rental assistance. We have homeless prevention and rapid rehousing dollars that come from the federal government. So if anybody has any questions, I know there are some chronically homeless individuals in our city, and we have organizations that do reach out to them. Unfortunately, most homeless people that are in that state, they don't want assistance. They don't want to come in and go to a shelter. We also partner with the Continuum of Care of Northwest Indiana, who is our homeless shelter social service agency that will cover anyone that we can't assist here in the city of Hammond. So I don't know who asked the question, but if you have any questions about anything dealing with homelessness, please talk to me after the meeting, and I will give you more information.
Thank you, Awana. All right.
Next, Mayor. I live near Gavitt High School. Please don't let anything busy be built there. What will happen when it closes?
Great question. I was driving around Gavitt by myself last night dreaming about the stuff that could be done at Gavitt High School. Okay? You know, first off, I think we have a great school superintendent. I want to start off and say that. I think Scott Miller is the guy that's going to help us make decisions in the school city that needed to be made a long time ago. And I realize that some of the decisions he's making right now are rubbing people the wrong way, but let me tell you something. He has to do the things he's doing right now, and I think he's a very honest guy. I think he's a very smart guy. I know he's a caring guy. He cares so much. He was in Cherville when he got hired. He bought a house in downtown Hammond, and he's moving his entire family here. And I think that speaks volume about the kind of person that's running the school city, okay? Now, obviously, Gavitt's got a proud history. Clark High School's got a proud history, as does Hammond High School, as does Morton, as does Hast, Bishop Knoll. When Gavitt is shut down, halfway through the school year, I believe, if I'm that correct, there will be something done with it. First off, Purdue Northwest is interested in it. Absolutely fact, okay? And if Purdue gets it, I only need to point you on the boulevard to like the 7,100 block of Knickerbocker to look at what Purdue does to a building when they buy it. Now, Purdue's long-term plans include things like football teams, facilities, classes, like off-campus locations. I tell you, if I look 50 years out, I'm not going to be mayor, obviously. If I think about what Hammond's going to look like 50 years from now, Purdue's going to have a much larger presence in the city than it does today. And that's a good thing for us. So when Purdue wants to expand their footprint to places like Dowling Park or to Gavitt High School, maybe they want Woodmar to be like Purdue's footprint one day. God bless them. They got billions of dollars behind their name, and they could do a lot of good things in our city with that. So that's a fact. I can't tell you what Purdue wants to do with it, or I can't tell you for sure that they will buy it, but if they do, they've proven. They get stuff done and it looks nice. They're doing it to the old Gap. What's that, 171st in Indianapolis Boulevard. What is that? Mr. Bargains. It was damn Mr. Bargains for a decade. Now it's a Purdue Counseling Center. It's gorgeous. So if Purdue buys Gavitt, it may not happen overnight, but 10 years later, it'll look nice. I'm not saying it's going to take 10 years either, but they'll get it done. And maybe one day, 20, 30 years down the road, on Saturdays when we're not wearing masks anymore, we can go watch a college football game over at Gavitt High School and watch Purdue Northwest play somebody. I know that's what they're thinking. And wouldn't that be awesome if that actually did happen? Now, let's say we have a better plan for it. Maybe we want to build housing there. Like, you know, like campus housing kind of stuff. Maybe like stuff that you see in Bloomington, where the bottom floor is retail, and there's 2 floors above it with students that, you know, rent an apartment and stuff like that. Maybe we can do stuff like that. I tell you what it's not going to be, because the city's going to be involved. It's not going to sit there empty. It's not going to sit there and waste away. I promise you that. I live in this neighborhood too. I promise you it's not going to waste away. If Purdue doesn't have a good use for it, we will. And we'll get it done. I promise you. Gavitt High School will be a positive for this neighborhood decades from now, whatever the next iteration will be. We're blessed, actually. I was looking at it yesterday. I'm like, this could be a good thing. What is that? How many acres is Gavitt High School? 20? It seems like it's bigger than River. That's a blessing. We don't get 20, 30 acres available for development like that very often in this city. We're landlocked. We could do a lot of things. It's got to be a positive, though. Think about where it's located. The freaking sound wall. Over on the other side of that sound wall is 250,000 cars per day pass there. 250,000? Is that an underestimation, Dean?
Oh, no, that's easy 250, yeah.
That's like automatic audience. Like when we dropped the sound wall by the BW3s, that place took off like that, right? I'm not going to say we're dropping the sound wall there because people live there, but maybe we put up clear barriers so you can see it. And maybe we start building something. Maybe one day it's like a hotel. Who knows? Maybe one day it's like campus housing and a bunch of Purdue students live there. Who knows? What it's not going to be is empty, wasting away. I promise you that. So Purdue's definitely interested. So thank you for the question. By the way, Clark High School, it's a blessing also. We're going to be able to do great things up there. I'm excited. We've actually talked about where the Clark High School athletic fields are. We've talked for 10 years in this administration about being able to build a single-family neighborhood there. We could put probably 100 houses in that area. 100 brand new houses in Hammond. You just don't get opportunities like this. So I know people are sad to see Clark shut down. I understand. I know people are sad to see Gavitt shut down. I understand. But we could take the next step forward. It's not going to waste away. I promise you. So does anybody have any follow-ups on that? And by the way, again, to reiterate about the tough decisions being made by the superintendent of schools, he's a top quality person. He cares about our city, and there's not a lot of Cherville residents that are moving their entire family to downtown Hammond. I think that we need to give this guy the benefit of the doubt and work with him, because I think 10 years from now we're going to really appreciate a guy like him. Yes, sir.
Where's the athletic fields going for the new Hammond Central School?
Assuming that what Purdue wants to do turns out, right, because there's a lot of assumptions. We're in a pandemic right now, right? It would be at the football field, sir. They were really interested in that. There's always been talk since I've been mayor, especially when we built Dowling Park. There was talk about Purdue going D2, Purdue getting a football team and competing D2, and maybe one day they're competing D1. I'm sorry. I apologize. Where are the athletic fields for that going? Thank you. I believe they're going. Kevin, could you follow up on this? Athletic fields for Hammond Central. Kevin's been more involved in that.
Thanks, Mayor. So we are currently in discussions with the school city to make sure that there are new athletic fields at Hammond Central. As you know, the football field is now under the new high school, and the baseball field's behind that. So what they're trying to do is move the football field across Eaton Street over to land that is behind the Civic Center, and then move the baseball field and expand it a little bit to the north as well, across Eaton Street, kind of on the side of the Civic Center. So it's going to basically, Eaton Street becomes a cul-de-sac about halfway between Calumet and Seoul, which will be like a turnaround. The entrance to the fields will be right there off the cul-de-sac between Calumet and Seoul, and the fields will be right there. So baseball field basically right where it is, just a little pushed a little bit to the north, and football field behind the Civic Center. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, sir. I knew Kevin was working with them on that issue. That's why I didn't want to take a stab at it. Another interesting fact that Dean pointed out when I came up here, the size of Gavitt High School, 20 acres on the nose. I'm right every once in a while, thank you. Marissa's watching, so I'm right every once in a while. So, all right. But to give you a perspective, River Park Apartments, when we bought that, was like 25 acres, right? 24? Just under 20? So it's almost the same size as River Park. Think about that. potential. River Park Apartments is probably worth at least $40 million right now because of what we did with it. Think about what we could do if we got creative with that property over by Gavitt High School. It's a big piece of property right off the highway, and it's not hard to get to. It's right off 175th. I mean, you know, I started thinking about things differently a couple weeks ago, like, this could be a blessing, you know, in a way, because we've done spectacularly with the Oxbow over at the River Park Apartments. The reason is its amazing location. You can't beat the location. Gavitt High School is not that bad of a location either. So, who knows? But I promise you, that's going to be a top priority for this administration, what to do with it. And I'm already in talks with the schools about acquiring the property, Clark and Gavitt. So, and Purdue's in talks with the school city about Gavitt also. So, good people are involved. Yes, sir, again.
Reiterating on that subject, is there any thought about reconstructing the intersection there at 175th and Indianapolis Boulevard?
Horrible, huh?
It's crazy.
It's horrible. Probably the worst intersection in the city.
Yes.
You always have that jerk off that's like sitting out in the middle, right? I always want to like call the cops every time I see that. And we could have an officer sitting over there all day long and they'd pay for like 10 officer salaries with the fines. You know what we're talking about, Tom? 75th and the Boulevard. Those guys that sit out in the middle and they block traffic and it's dangerous.
They want to cut off into the westbound.
Right. Or you get the people on the off-ramp that cut across the boulevard so that they can, right. Yeah, it's horrible. If we were going to do something at Gavitt, we would have to do something about that intersection, for sure. Thanks for bringing that up, sir. Questions? All right, let's move on.
Mayor, the new water park at Martin Luther King, Highland Street, people are parking in front of everyone's house and they're all Illinois plates.
They're parking in front of where?
Everyone's homes.
And they're Illinois plates.
All Illinois.
Yeah. Where's Mark? Hey, Mark. What's the thing I notice? I live in this neighborhood. I work in that neighborhood. I'm there almost every day of my life in that neighborhood. So I notice what's going on as well. First off, I notice that our kids are loving it, which makes me happy as a mayor. Okay. And I know we've had issues with the flame that you and I have talked about, right? The parking situation, though, I've noticed also cars are parking on Lyons. And I don't know if they're leaving them there all night, but sometimes I go to City Hall at night and the cars are still sitting there and they're not supposed to be.
Right.
So have you?
And we did prepare for that. We do have signage. As part of that overall park improvement, we added those bump out parking areas on the north side of the park on Lyons. It is signed for park use, not for overnight parking. The park does close at dusk, and that's part of the park, so that is a area if there's cars overnight that they can be ticketed. Part of our system, though, of developing our parks and really is to make all of our parks this destination to attract people to our city, just like our stores, just like our restaurants, everything else. There is a side of that we want to bring people to our town. That's who's going to help us support and bring about the economic development that others were talking about earlier to continue to have those types of things grow. Obviously, our proximity to a state line is going to always have that. We have I have the fortunate ability to tell you I grew up on the other side of that state line. And I remember how many complaints growing up. It was all those Indiana people are over here using our facilities. We're close proximity. Without a wall there, we're going to have people crisscrossing over, coming to that. One of the reputations of MLK Park in particular, and it's not necessarily the water feature yet, it's the basketball courts. Those basketball courts are the place to play outdoor basketball in Northwest Indiana. To the point where people are coming from miles away. I mean, they're coming there for the best games. If you go out there and watch, I can tell you there's a couple guys who are here with our PA system that are running, trying to help us with this, that are the ones that change the basketball nets. Frequently, guys are coming, hey, there's a big game tonight, we need new nets. It's like, who's to think this is an outdoor recreation area? So we do have that. That is part of what we're trying to do within our whole park system. It is an area that we expect to have more improvements. There is a section, a future phase of that park, which is Tapper Avenue through the park, which would create even additional further parking there as well. It'd be diagonal parking on both sides, the east and west side there, right in front of Freedom Plaza, and to the basketball court side there. So that would create a lot of additional parking. We also, of course, have the parking lot at City Hall, which is available for anyone to use that park as well. So there is quite a bit of ample parking there. And typically, City Hall is wide open on the evenings and weekends when the parks are the busiest.
Thanks, Mark. It's good to see you. Mark Heinz, everybody. Could you give him a warm round of applause? Mark hit on a couple things that are important. First off, it's sort of flattering that Illinois residents want to use our parks. They're beautiful. I don't blame Illinois residents for wanting to use our parks. And it's sort of flattering when Illinois residents use their parks like I do. I'm a mountain biker. And for anybody in the mountain biking world, Palos Park in Palos Hills is the place to be. I'm out there as much as I can be, especially this time of year. So I agree with Mark. It goes both ways. I used to go to Thornton all the time to their mountain bike course there. So, you know, it does go both ways. The things that get me, though, going back to MLK Park and the parking situation, and I'm glad Officer Strabavi's here, is when they park their cars overnight in the bump out lots that are supposed to be only between dusk and dawn. So that's what when they're parked over there, because if that happens, if the neighbors are allowed to claim those parking spots, then why did we build them, right? So those have to be cleared each night, and I think that's super important. But Illinois residents using our parks, that's legal and sort of flattering. I don't know if anybody wants to follow that up. Anybody have a follow-up?
Mayor,
Yeah.
we do have a plan to improve that section of Tapper to improve parking between the parks on both sides. It's a capital improvement board thing, and we'll just have to figure out how to get it funded.
Cool. Thank you, Dean. Okay, let's move on.
Mayor, is there any more news on the Governor's Parkway overpass in Houseville?
Good question. I'm going to pass that one off to Dean. Governor's Parkway is a proposal paid for with, I forgot which program through the state, but basically we got an award from the state to help us get around blocked rail crossings in Houseville. We'll build a new bridge that will basically sort of mirrors Parish, comes off 173rd, mirrors Parish, and then cuts over onto Parish, and it'll hopefully eventually cut over to Gavitt High School. Governor's Parkway. Dean.
Yeah, what a great project. It was
Tracks?
Called Local Tracks.
Local Tracks.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, I'm glad you talked a little bit because it kind of helped me get my thoughts together too. So we submitted a program. We got about $7 million from the state. It's in design right now. We've got that process takes about 2 full years. And so we're looking at 2022 to 2023 before that project actually gets started. They're in design. They have to do an environmental study. They have to do a little bit of property acquisition. Most of those are favorable property owners. About 2/3 of the property is already owned by the city. Purdue owns about 20%, and then there's a couple of local property owners. And it's just really going to help traffic going north to south over the Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks. It's a great program, Mayor.
Those 50 people just dropped off, logged on earlier. So.
No surprise.
Just kidding. All right. Thank you very much. Any follow-up questions on that? It's a great proposal. When is that supposed to break ground, Dean?
22.
22?
Yeah, 22 at the earliest.
Good. It's being run through the state. It's a state program. We're lucky enough to be awarded it. I know the state picked engineers and all that basically, right?
Yeah, the state pretty much dictates how it's going to be. We do the best we can to influence some of their decisions because they've got some ideas about a wider bridge than we feel like we really need, and we cover a lot of that extra cost, so we're trying to keep that down.
All right. But there's going to be a bike trail on that too, right?
There'll be bike lanes over the bridge, definitely, which will be helpful to get kids back and forth.
Because Houseville is like where bike trails die in Hammond. We're trying to fix that. Houseville is where bike trails die. Bike trails also die in East Chicago. We're trying to fix that also. Gary, actually, there's a couple routes through Gary I take right now to get, you can go from like Griffith through Gary, and you can get out to Hobart, Chesterton, New Buffalo. You can go out that way. So Gary's actually done well with their trails. They have a bridge and a tunnel that I use in Gary. East Chicago, that's where the bike trails die. I hope Mayor Copeland will pick it up and, you know, connect the trails through his city, and it'll make it better for all of us. It's really cool what's going on across the region for people that ride their bikes. This weekend, actually, in Cherville, they're doing a ribbon cutting for something I've been using for the last 2 months, going around signs that say do not enter. Not just me, by the way, a lot of people do this. They connected up the Pensy Greenway through Cherville, which is exciting for me because it gives you the ability to ride huge circles around Lake County, doing the Erie Lackawanna, which has always been there, and taking the Pensy Greenway home. It's really cool what's going on with bike trails in the region. And I'd like to think a lot of that started right here in Hammond. When we started connecting up our trails, it seemed like the fever caught on, and other people are doing it as well. So anyway.
Mayor,
yeah.
Kudos to you as well. You won an award from the Partners for Clean Air last week. Mitch Barloga from NERPC credited Hammond for having more miles per capita than any other community in the state of Indiana. Mayor, to your credit, to your effort, and all the bridges that have gone, we think that that's like nice to have and not necessary, but these quality of life improvements are second to none across the state.
It's like a park. It's a lateral park. What do you call it? Linear park? Linear park. That was Mark Hines that came up with that, and it's a great description. It's like a park that goes across the city, and it's important. And thousands of people use it. Mylan, grab a microphone, would you? I like your PPE, by the way.
Thank you.
Very cool. Cubs.
And they're winning, too.
They're winning right now?
Yeah, beating Cleveland.
Yeah, they look really good in a season that's probably not going to complete.
It's okay.
Yeah. Wham.
Wham.
Nice.
Beautiful. What a Saturday night.
Is Jill here?
Yes, she's over to your right.
Hi, Jill. And Donna and everybody that worked so hard. Could you give them a big warm round of applause for working so? 1,000 people?
We had over 1,400 register.
1,400 registered?
1,400 registered, about 1,000.
And then you have those people that just show up. So how many do you think?
A little over 1,000.
Come on.
No.
You need to hang out with me more. It's like 3,000 in my book. It's like 1,400
everything's bigger in the mayor's life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in a lot of ways. But yeah, it was great. Kevin and I finished 2 o'clock, and it seemed like there was nobody on the course. And then I took the route home where I went down the bike trail. There was so many people. It was so cool.
It was cool.
But you know what we have to do better next year?
No.
Next year we need to advertise the route, like a parade, so that the Hammond residents will know at 12:30 you're going to have 1,000 people on bikes go in front of your house, right?
Right.
Because there was a lot of people watching the route this year, but if we advertised it like a parade, you'd have people would stay up just to see that. It's like 3,000 people, right, Mylan?
Yes, Mayor, 3,000.
3,000 bikes go in front of your house, of course.
They went by your house, yes.
So anyway, good job on Wham. Beautiful.
It was.
So, all right, let's move on.
Last question, Mayor.
Last question. This is my favorite one.
Have you given any thought to plans for developing the Schleicher neighborhood along the lines of the Oxbow, along where Indy Boulevard is north of 8094?
Give me the parameters again. The neighborhood.
The Schleicher neighborhood. Along the lines of the Oxbow, like the Oxbow.
Oh, you're saying, would I put an Oxbow type of develop where Schleicher is? Well, that would be a bad thing for me to plan because there's like 5,000 people that live in Schleicher probably, and they wouldn't be too happy to hear that I'm making plans for their house. I love the Schleicher neighborhood. When we had floods 10 days before my election, that's where I was stationed in Schleicher. And a lot of the residents saw me. I was trying to just stop cars from going through. That was a nightmare. No, the answer to your question is no, we have no plans to, basically eminent domain an entire neighborhood other than what's going on with the South Shore. That's a project that's using eminent domain as we speak. It's being supported by the city, but the primary action is taking place through the federal government, but there's nothing with Schleicher planned like that at all. The only thing in that neighborhood that's really being speculated about right now is Gabbett High School. If there's, within the next 10, 20 years, in that whole part of the city, when I say Riverside Park, Optimus Park, Schleicher, Gavitt, that whole neighborhood area, Donna's neighborhood, Bering. The only major change in the next decade in that area is going to be what we do with Gavitt High School, in my opinion. And it's got to be spectacular, because we can make Gavitt High School, the former Gavitt High School, the center of that neighborhood for the next couple of decades. And I think it's that important. But Schleicher is going to be a neighborhood, unless some like Amazon comes along and buys everybody's house for 200% of its value. But right now, there's nothing like that on the table. So, okay. Any other questions? Nothing from, yes, sir. Hey, could we get a microphone over here with this gentleman? Yes, I could. Okay. Okay. All right. So the question is, do we fill potholes and trim trees? Like every day of our lives, we're doing that. They do it every day, sir. I mean, oh, Jeff, grab the microphone, would you? This is Jeff Rutherford. He's the 5th District Supervisor. He's in charge of parks, streets, garbage, alleys, basically everything in the alley in the 5th District, right? Could you hit the microphone? I can't hear you. And you drive around in a big truck that says 5th District Supervisor on it, right?
Yeah, so basically everything comes through us for the most part, and then we check it and give it out to the other two. But like today, I was out in my own truck patching today.
What kind of stuff was the crews in the 5th District working on today? Like they blow them.
So this week, just strictly brush for the guys because of the storm we had. You know, basically just strictly brush, probably till Friday, I would guess.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to get, I mean, we got trees still down, power lines down.
So let's say this gentleman has an issue and he sees you driving by in your 5th District truck. Can he just like say, hey?
Oh, yeah, just wave me down. The best way to do it's the 311 app.
311 app. Do you have that on your phone, sir?
We still jump on that quite a bit or call in and we get a ticket in the morning, either way. But if we don't know about it, it's kind of hard for us to fix the problem.
Okay. Yes, sir. I tell you, hey, Gary, 110 people in Department of Public Works? 110. Most of them are on, you know, let's say 20 of them are on vacation right now because it's summer. I mean, we got 90 people a day, sir. And it's a big city, but if we have a problem, please let us know through the 311 app. Call your councilman. Show up to Mayor's Night Out. We pride ourselves on that. So, thank you, sir. Any other questions?
Mayor, can I just add real quick as part of that? The 5th District Councilor that's here in the last 2 years has poured $400,000 of gaming into tree removal and trimming in the 5th District. So those of you who live in the 5th District and you didn't see a lot of tree issues, that's thanks to him.
Thank you, Dave. This gentleman has a question over here. Go ahead and shout it out. Thank you. Good question. Word on the South Shore expansion. I'm going to go with my RDA appointee, the Regional Development Authority. Each mayor has an appointment to that board. My appointment is Miss Africa Tarver, who's doing an excellent job for us. Could you give us an update on the South Shore?
No, it's just to make sure that I didn't get anything confused. As you know, there are 2 projects, the Westlake Corridor project and the Double Track project. The Double Track project, we're anticipating the full funding agreement to be reached by June of, well, the summer of 2021. And for the Westlake Corridor project, we're expecting a full funding agreement to be reached by the fall of this year.
So when are they going to start officially? Because right now they're buying properties, demolishing them. I mean, I'm sure. Okay. You know where the current South Shore station is? Yes. The Gateway station is going to be located to the east of that 2 blocks, excuse me, to the west of that 2 blocks, where the Brunswick area, that neighborhood over there, right off the south. You could see just south of Gosselin, We've acquired the South Shore has acquired all that neighborhood there. Okay, and it's going to go back, fly over Homan, and then go through downtown Hammond down to Monon. There won't be a lot of property acquisition outside of North Hammond. North Hammond, hundreds of buildings, hundreds of homes were acquired, but in return, $200 million in investment, sir, in Hammond. That's conservative. We're getting a brand new train station that houses both lines. We're getting another train station in the 4th District, like 173rd and Lyman in that area. And then eventually we're going to get a new train station in downtown Hammond, right by the federal courthouse in that area. It's going to be spectacular when it's done. It's been theoretical for the last, I first started talking about this in 2008. So we've been talking about it for 12 years. And I like Africa, I feel like we're so far along, there's no way they're going to turn us back. So, questions?
Mayor, when is the last day to fill out our census?
Census. Please, if you have not filled out your census, or if you're unsure if you haven't filled out your census, please contact the U.S. Census Bureau and make sure that you're counted. You know, when I did it, I got like a confirmation, you know, with a code on it. Like, make sure that you get counted. If you don't get counted, how much is each person worth? Brian, where are you? Hi, Brian. You gotta take off that mask too. I hate to say it. I know sitting next to Councilman Whirlpool, you want to keep your mask on, but you're the census guy, Brian.
What's the question?
Census. How much is each person worth? Each.
You know, I don't know that note to figure out the top of my head.
I know. Like,
I know.
You're supposed to be like the Census Dictionary.
Yeah.
Could you remind us what's going on with the census? Last I checked, we were in the 70s.
It is in the 60 to 70% return.
Remember, I exaggerate.
Yeah, it depends upon the different census tracts. The census tracts in the central part of the city are the lowest returns. That is where we really have been doing a lot of effort lately with getting brochures out and knocking on people's doors to remind them of the census. It is very important that you fill out your form. You can do it online. If you just go to census2020.gov, you can get access to the area where you can fill out your information. And it is very important that we get as complete count as possible, because it is not only determining how many congressmen you have per state, it also is used the calculation to determine how much the federal money is distributed to the different communities.
Thanks, Brian. I'd like to thank, real quick, one of the ways that we've taken up the slack in Hammond to try to make sure that people are aware that the census is taking place is we sent you stuff in the mail, we put stuff in your water bill, things of that nature. Just recently we had a bunch of workers from the Department of Public Works and from the Sewage Department go around the city and hang 3,000 census brochures on everybody's doorknob. On one side it was in Spanish, and on the other side it was in English. And I wanted to take a second to thank Jack Smith and Gary Gleason and all the gentlemen and the ladies and gentlemen that worked with them to make that happen. So thank you. Now get counted. It's important. Yeah, hi, Awana. See, the money that Awana gets through community development is based on census numbers. And, you know, the money we're able to give for like homeless prevention and for, you know, other types of charities and programs, we get that because of the census count. And if we don't count ourselves, that money supply goes down as well.
Right. Each person, Indiana receives approximately $17.1 billion, and that kind of equates to like $2,700 per person.
Hear that, Brian? $2,700 per person. Awana, I knew you would know it. I was just testing Brian. Thank you, Awana.
Mayor?
$2,700 per person. It's worth it. I'll even give you a stamp. Just make sure you get counted.
Mayor?
Yeah. Hi, Jack.
Within the last week, sewer department, street department have passed out 10,000 brochures. Tomorrow I'm picking up another 10,000.
I just said 30,000 2 seconds ago.
No, it will be.
Oh.
I'll pick up the other 10,000 tomorrow morning.
Okay. I was embellishing, I guess.
Yep, they're all,
Good
they'll-
job.
They will all be out within the next 2 weeks.
Tell the men and women that are working so hard, I appreciate it very much. So, all right, we got any other questions, Donna?
We've completed the written questions.
What's that? That is?
We're done.
What were you doing during Festival of the Lakes? Were you thinking about it each night?
It was extremely hot, you'll note.
Yeah,
So-
it was.
And I think it did rain one night.
Wednesday. We would have lost the OJs
And I decided to take a vacation during festival week.
for the first time ever.
First time in 16 years.
Yes. Good job. Great job on your vacation. Good news. We're planning on having a Festival of the Lakes in 2021, and 80% of our lineup is already committed to the Festival of the Lakes 2021. True?
Correct.
Including the people we announced already. So we'll announce them again formally, but the good news is, as long as we beat this vaccine and we can actually see each other in public again, hopefully we'll have a good time next July out at the pavilion. So anybody else have anything they want to bring up?
Mayor, can I say one thing for Councilman Tyler? He's having a food pantry for the people who lost power in the parking lot across the street from the Civic Center tomorrow from 1 until 3.
Thank you, Councilman Tyler's food drive tomorrow from 1 to 3 in the parking lot across from the Hammond Civic Center. It's very nice of him. By the way, is anybody in the audience power still out at their house? I'm sorry. Devin? Brian, you too? Bob? Jeff? Mine got turned on at 2 in the morning. You? I'm sorry. I don't run NIPSCO, but it's very frustrating. I was out until 2 o'clock last night. Good. So anyway, any other issues we got to bring up? I want to thank everybody for coming out to Mayor's Night Out. I want to again thank the Hammond YMCA and Emily Ellison for letting us use this. I want to point out that the next Mayor's Night Out is September 23rd, 2020 in the 1st District. We will be at Lincoln Elementary School in the cafeteria, 4221 Toll Avenue. Thank you all very much for coming to Mayor's Night Out. Nice to see you all.